Hello and welcome to yet another fun video. It is I, Mr. Brett, naturalist for the Three Rivers Park District, located at the Lowry Nature Center in the great state of Minnesota. Again, in partnership with our friends at Tierney, bringing you another amazing science lesson and back to my state of Minnesota. What we are talking about today, during the summer months, over 400 different species of this animal call Minnesota home. However, during the winter time, it's less than 100. Wait a minute, animals are disappearing, but then they come back. 400 plus species in the summer, 100, less than 100 in the wintertime. I'll give you a hint. Feathers, wings, beaks. That's right, today is all about birds, and we'll cover, just as a reminder, what a bird should look like. We're going to talk about migration and why that happened. We are going to do a quick little hearing game where we're going to test your knowledge on birdsong. Then we're going to get outside in search of what's going on. And by the way, spring is the absolute best time to be outside looking and listening for birds. Let's get started. All right, so what makes a bird a bird? We know that scientists love putting things in groups. They absolutely love it. Now, if you're going to be a bird, first and foremost, you got to have this. You have to have feathers. They're the only group of animals on the planet with feathers. Feathers help them fly. Feathers keep them warm. Feathers give them shape. They even provide camouflage, help them hide. Also, if you're going to be a bird, you're laying eggs. You're like, but Mr. Brett, fish lay eggs and frogs lay eggs. Yes, they do in the water. Birds lay their eggs on land. We're like, well, Mr. Brett, snakes and turtles, they lay eggs on land. Yes, they are reptiles. Their eggs are leathery. Bird eggs, solid. Puts them in their own group. Now, if I were to draw a picture of what a bird looks like, you could help me do this. You know what? Instead of drawing a picture, I got a better idea. All right, so I thought for a quick review of what makes a bird, I could have drawn a picture. However, why not? Just use a real bird. Now, as we all know, birds are covered with feathers. Only animal on the planet that has feathers. Birds have wings. This red-tailed hawk's some mighty large wings here. Now, just because you have wings doesn't guarantee you can fly. And let's be clear, birds are not the only other animals that have wings. Can you name a couple? We'll give you a moment to think about it. Other animals besides birds that have wings. Can you think of any? Bats, maybe? Insects? Absolutely. Now, along with the wings, birds also have a tail. Now, this guy has a beautiful reddish-orange tail. It's where he gets his name, the red-tailed hawk, that you can see he's using to balance right now. We'll also use to help steer while in flight. Birds have beaks, and you can see that his beak is a sharp, hooked beak. Almost acts like a knife that he uses to pull apart his food because birds don't have teeth. They can't chew it up into small pieces. Now, if he has a knife, you're thinking, well, Mr. Brett, he's got to have a fork somewhere. That's right. Check out those feet. Birds have claws, in particular, because he's a raptor. His claws, we call them talons. And if you look even closer yet, not sure we can see this, on his legs, they're covered with scales. Birds have scales, just like reptiles do. And there are a lot of people out there who would even consider birds to actually be reptiles. So we've got the beak, we've got the wings, we've got the tail, feathers, claws, scales. All of those things are required if, as an animal, you are going to be a bird. All right, so often when I ask children if they know any bird songs, like, no, Mr. Brett, I don't know any of them. Then I play a couple, like, wait, I think I recognize that one. Exactly. I'm going to play 3 before we head outside, just to do a real quick test to warm up our ears, getting them ready to listen. This first one is a bird that lives in pretty much the entire northern half of the United States. It is one that sticks around Minnesota year-round. Here is its spring call. I recognize that. Maybe you recognize this call. The sound of the black-capped chickadee. All right, next bird we're going to do is one that you can find in any state in the 50 of the United States. It is a bird that adapts very well to being around people. This is probably one of the most recognizable calls around. Here we go. Listen up. Probably recognize this one. It belongs to the crow, the American crow. All right, now lastly, a bird that I affectionately refer to as the Star Wars bird. It is one that lives in the middle part of the United States going eastward, not really a western United States bird. I call it the Star Wars bird because of its call. Listen up and see if you can hear what I'm talking about. That one belongs to the cardinal. You're like, wait, Mr. Brett, there's two. There's a red and there's a brown one. Yeah, the cardinals are one of the birds where we actually see dimorphism, differences in colors between the male and the female. The male tends to be more brightly colored, so it can attract the female. The female, more natural in color, so it can hide during nesting season. I think that's enough bird songs indoors. Let's go outside and see who's calling in your neighborhood. All right, so we're outside now, and the first thing I want you to do is we're going to spend 10 seconds. And when you do this, I want you maybe to spend 30 seconds or a minute. But for now, together, 10 seconds listening. And every time we hear a new and different bird, I want you to keep track of it on your fingers. On your mark, 10 seconds of listening. Get set. Every time a new bird, we keep track on our fingers and go. All right, in that 10 seconds, I heard 3 different birds. You try now listening for birds in your neighborhood. All right, so migration. It's when animals move from one place on the planet to another, and it occurs seasonally. Now, but the question is why? Why are they moving? Why are they leaving? And I think for some of you, if you live in Minnesota, your initial thought is, well, Mr. Brett, it's cold in the wintertime, and so the birds are leaving to get out of the cold. And if you're not from Minnesota, you're like, yeah, we've heard it's cold. That's the answer. That's why they're leaving. My point, though, to you is there are birds that are still here. I already told you, less than 100, but still birds here in the wintertime. So if they're still here, why? It all comes down to one simple thing: food. If you're a living thing, and if you're watching this video with me, by the way, you need food in order to survive. On our map here is Lake Superior, so Minnesota is right in this. Actually, here's the tip of it. We are right about in here. Now, a lot of birds that are spending time here in the summertime, in the winter, are coming down here to the southern United States, down into Central America, and even further south. However, there are birds that actually come from Canada, farther north, and stay here in the wintertime, which is weird to think that they're migrating here. If you're a goose or if you're a duck, you get your food from the water. The water freezes. You can't find your food there, so you've got to go to places that are warmer where the water is still open. If you're a bird that eats insects, guess what? When it gets super cold, that first frost happens, boom, the insects are all gone. Now you've got to figure something out, and often that is to migrate. Now again, though, we are at the time of year, it's April, it's springtime, where all the birds that went down are now making their way back up. But how do they know when it's time to go? Do they have little calendars? They've got a date circle down there? Probably not. Wait, do they have apps on the little bird phone? No, that's not it either. It's big, it's hot, it's 93 million miles away from the planet, yet it is our closest star. That's right, the sun. As we headed into the springtime, the daylight hours were increasing. The birds picked up on this and they knew it was time to come back. And oh my goodness, is it the best time of year to be outside looking for this happening? Wait, that's where we should be right now. Let's go. So off to the side of my yard in a crabapple tree, I have found a robin. Robins are birds that used to migrate from Minnesota all the time, but haven't done so much as of late. Maybe it's not just birds you see, but maybe signs that birds have been here. I found this robin nest underneath my deck. So here we have 2 pairs of migratory birds. In the forefront, a pair of mallards, and in the background, a pair of trumpeter swans. Both of these birds obtain almost all of their food from the water. Well, here in Minnesota, in the wintertime, the water freezes, so you can't get food. And without food, any old living thing is going to not make it so these birds adapt by migrating. Well, thanks again for joining me this week for another fun lesson. As always, if you're looking for more information on the Three Rivers Park District, you can go to our website. If you want more to go along with the lesson that you saw today, you can visit Tierney's website. My name is Brett Seaburn. Until we see each other again, get outside.